Comic books made more sense. You know it is fictitious without pretense.
Hello, with Ant-Man 3 coming up, Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, I thought I'd take a look at one of my old digests. Now, this is Marvel Comics Digest, number 7. This was put out by Archie Comics between 2017 and 2018 to capitalize on all the success that the MCU movies were having. And Archie Comics has always dominated the digest scene in terms of comics on racks in accessible places like Walmarts and grocery stores and convenience stores, etc. So Marvel wanted into the digest market, and they did so by making a deal with Archie. And Archie then made these big, handsome digests highlighting a character from one of their upcoming movies and put them out 6 times a year. And they're as thick as an Archie digest. They're about 220 pages or so. Pretty good stuff. Good value too. I know Walmart, at least in Canada, I don't know if this is elsewhere, has a deal where you can buy 3 magazines from different brands. One of them is Archie, and buy 3 for the price of 1. So I used to do that, go out and get as many of these as I could. The whole thing dried up. I don't know what happened. It only lasted 8 issues and then it went away. And I don't know how you don't make that work in that, MCU is huge. The covers, look, this is good art, but I've always thought the covers were a little lackluster. They don't pop up off the page. Really, the colorful art on Archie Comics screams, fun, colorful comic, and these don't really do that. Let me go through the series first very briefly. So, this was issue 1. You can see it's got a little Spider-Man there. This was issue 2, Avengers. You see little Captain America there. This came out for, I think, Ragnarok. This is seen as the best digest. It has some great stuff in here. He fights the Mangog in it. Great stuff. Now, usually these digests start with Silver Age things and move to Bronze Age, and then some of the newer comics that are based on cartoons, etc. This was issue 4, X-Men, and despite this cover, it did not have the first appearance of this team, like Giant Size X-Men. And here's the X-Men on the spine. This is a peculiar one. This is coming out for Black Panther. Avengers featuring Black Panther. Black Panther's barely in this. It's mostly Avengers stuff. Like, when Captain America joins the Avengers, etc. Yeah, that's weird. It was disappointing. I thought they were going to have more Black Panther. Here's issue 6. This was for Infinity War coming out. Featuring Thanos. This is a great one. This has some good stuff. It has the first appearance of Thanos, like, in the Iron Man comics, etc. Really great stuff. It has the whole saga where it led to Marvel 2-in-1 with the Thing and Spider-Man teaming up to fight Thanos. Here you go. This is a great one. Of course, this is issue 7. We'll get into that. And this is the last issue, issue 8, for, I can't remember what Spider-Man was coming out at the time. It was 2018. Oh, Venom. Venom came out, or thereabouts. It has some good Black Suit Saga stuff in here. So yeah, I point all this out because you could still get these for fairly cheap online. Get them while they last, because there's a finite number of these made, and what doesn't get sold gets destroyed, right? It's newsstand distribution, right? So, with all that said, let's take a look at the Wasp, the Ant-Man and the Wasp version of these. Now, what these do is they serve, well, they should serve as a primer or grounder for, kids or readers of any age to get into some character before their movie is coming out. And this does that pretty well. I'm not a big Ant-Man fan, so I don't rank this as high as the Thor digest, but this is pretty good. If you don't know anything about Ant-Man, this really tells you. So you just pick this up off the rack at as an impulse buy before buying your groceries and stuff. Pretty good stuff. So here, the other comics didn't really do this, like the other Marvel digests. Here they have a grounder of the different characters: the Hank Pym Ant-Man, Janet Van Dyne Wasp, and Scott Lang Ant-Man here. And here's an ad for a Riverdale publication for that show. So this is the first appearance of Wasp, and this newsprint paper is pretty good for, it's not totally newsprint, I mean it is a little thicker, but this is really great for this art. As we get into it, you'll see that it's not so great with newer art. But because comic books were line art, and not so much shadows, etc., it really pops. Really colorful stuff. So this is all the first appearance of Wasp. And we'll get into Kang in a second. But for this first story, they just show you the story and then they tell you where it's from. So this is Tales to Astonish 44. I think this is one of a few Silver Age in here. So that's pretty good. So you start with Silver Age stuff. This is pretty good primer. They don't really show the first appearance of Ant-Man. It's just of Wasp, but you get some Ant-Man good stuff here. The next thing was curious back then. They hadn't mentioned Kang at all up to this point in the MCU. And way back in 2018, when the second Ant-Man movie was coming out, here's something promoting that with the first appearance of Kang. Well, let me put a pin on that. But the first appearance of Kang as Kang. So anyone who knows, Kang appeared as Kang in Avengers, like 8. And before this character appeared in Fantastic Four comics as someone called Ramatut. Ramatut came from the future. He was ruling the past in ancient Egypt, etc. He appeared a couple times. The second time in Fantastic Four, he meets up with Doctor Doom and is sort of inspired to don this guise. So this is all basically the the first appearance of Kang in Avengers 8 and the origin. And once again, the art really pops here. This great, Jack Kirby art. So he's like, yes, I was born in the year 3000, where I mastered time travel. I journeyed to your far past, calling myself Pharaoh Ramatut. So they're saying Fantastic Four 19. Then I came to this century where I met Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four Annual 2. And here he is as Ramatut, and he is trying to get back to his time, year 3000, but he goes to year 4000, where all these barbarians are fighting with super technology and everything, but they're kind of dim-witted. So he conquers them and makes them his barbarian army, and with that, he can now conquer the past. So here he is trying to do that and being thwarted by the Avengers, and the whole big fight ensues and the army gets involved and everything. This is a classic design. The thing about Kang, I've never really liked Kang much. I think newer comic readers read more sophisticated stories being told with the character now and love the character, and it's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, but if you're of my age, you're biggest and best exposure to Kang, and the reason why you have an affinity for Kang is because he was part of the Secret Wars action figure set, and that's the only reason. And that thing was a peg warmer. It's only now gaining price on the back market because Kang is coming to the MCU, but no one cared about that character. So here's another confusing thing about Kang. So he was Ramatut, and that's how he first appeared. He then turns to Kang, and Kang is cool, and he's got all these weapons and stuff. He looks cool. That's Avengers 8. So in Avengers 10, the Avengers fight a guy named Immortus. Immortus is Kang, and Immortus, has the ability to. Well, if I remember Avengers 10 correctly, he enlists all sorts of like fabled characters like Paul Bunyan and stuff to fight for him. It's weird. So that happened, and in that issue, and even in Avengers 11, which we'll get into, they don't mention that Immortus is another version of Kang until later on. I think it's like in a giant size Avengers or something like that. They mentioned that Immortus and Kang and Ramatut are all the same. So that was Avengers 10. So they fought Immortus. Now in Avengers 11, they're going to fight Kang. Confusing, right? Now you know why I kind of don't care about this character, because he's just all over the map, right? Also reintroducing the mysterious Kang. So Spider-Man's here, and he's kind of not here. So Kang, there he is, trying to get his revenge and everything. He wants to now create robots of everyone. He creates a robot of Spider-Man to lure the Avengers to him. And once again, for this digest, the art really pops. It's pretty good stuff. Like just buying it as an impulse off a rack, right? So he leads them to this pyramid, and we're forgetting that this is supposed to be highlighting Ant-Man and the Wasp. So Giant Man's in this, and it's Hank Pym, and here he is. And Wasp is still Wasp. So they're all, trapped in this pyramid, being trapped one by one. And then the real Spider-Man comes and thwarts Kang's plan. Like, how did you learn about us? We mustn't wreck my brilliant plan. He mustn't. So this never really happened before, and doesn't really happen much now. Spider-Man makes wings out of his webbing. So that's pretty cool. And he glides, and he's fighting the fake Spider-Man. And he thwarts him and everything, and the Avengers are all, saved and whatnot. So they figure out it's Kang. Of course, it can be no other. Even now, he is probably monitoring this place, spying on us. And Kang's like, next time, or whatever. Next time, Gadget. So, yeah. So they highlighted Kang in 2 issues in this thing from 2018 promoting the second second Ant-Man movie. So that's weird. Back then we didn't understand, and now he's in part 3. I guess they always figured Kang was going to be part of the Ant-Man thing. Here's an ad for Jughead Comics. I love Jughead. So Marvel Premiere 47. This is the first appearance not of Scott Lang, but it's the first appearance of Scott Lang as Ant-Man. Scott Lang had been around installing security and stuff for the Avengers Mansion. But here he is as Ant-Man. They're like, is this the real Ant-Man or an imposter? Right? So readers are treated to Ant-Man fighting guys. It's like, who is this Ant-Man? Marvel Premiere was a cool little tryout book. I don't know if they have things like this anymore, where they would get characters like, like Bloodstone or whatnot, put them in something like this, and see if people liked it. And they'd run for an issue or 2 with them and then move on to some other dude. And if reader response was strong enough, they got their own title or were distributed more into different teams and stuff in Marvel. Great idea. This was the basis behind a whole bunch of books across DC and Marvel. This is really great stuff here. And it made Ant-Man sort of action spy oriented here. Which I don't think was the case before. And here's the big villain, a big big orange man in Speedos or whatever. So he's like super strong, and he's like crushing Ant-Man, etc. Anyways, they didn't have this guy in like the movies, but he gets defeated by Ant-Man. And one of the things about Ant-Man, of course, is that even though he's small, his punches are the same impact as it would be if he were regular sized. So here's Ant-Man talking to Hank Pym, who is now Yellow Jacket, and Hank Pym is passing the baton on to him, so that's great. Curious as to why you'd want it. I followed you home, watched you test out the costumes hardware. These dry pages, man. Well, anyhow. Avengers 195. So, I mean, Yellow Jacket's in this, but also Ant-Man is highlighted in these issues, so I guess they figured let's include it here. I think this is the first time the Avengers are encountering Scott Lang's Ant-Man. And they had met Scott Lang before when he was installing security. And there's a cute issue, I can't remember which one it is, where the security goes off and they capture him, but I think like Cap or somebody like, no, he's installing the the security system. It's fine, he's not an intruder. This whole thing, Avengers 195 is the first appearance of Taskmaster. So, Ant-Man's still highlighted here, but you also get the first appearance of Taskmaster, which is pretty good. Pencils by George Perez, and David Michelini wrote this. There's some great pencil work here. Really cool stuff, and there's a lot of great characters here. I love the shine of Iron Man. So yeah, Taskmaster manages to capture all of the Avengers. By the way, this is Jocasta. They don't really use her much anymore, I don't think. And I don't see her in the movies, but she was supposed to be the mate of Ultron. And then, of course, turns good, etc. So here's the final page of that issue where we see Taskmaster. And then they're not heartless monsters. They're going to conclude it for you. So here's Avengers 196 with a great cover. And here's one of those things where it's like, usually if someone made a first appearance, it would be the last page, a splash page where their name is there or whatnot. And they're shown in full. But the next issue where they're on the cover and they're throughout is seen as issue as the first appearance of that character. And that's always irked me. It's the whole like Hulk 180, Hulk 181 debate. Like, you know, which one is the real first appearance of Wolverine? I say it's 180. Most people say it's 181. But at the end of 180, you see Wolverine. He says his name. It's done. It's the first appearance. But people are like, well, that's a cameo. But it's also his first appearance. But anyways, I'm sure most people see 196 as the first appearance of Taskmaster. So here he's captured all these guys. And that's the classic Taskmaster shield there. And he learns everyone's strengths and stuff. And that's his thing, right? That he can then like duplicate it. So here's the roster at the time of the Avengers. And that's yeah, I mean, any roster of Avengers is pretty cool. Avengers is a pretty neat comic to follow. Back in the day, I'm more of a Bronze Age Avengers man, but yeah, it's pretty cool stuff, and there was also kind of a tryout book where they'd have characters in there to see what their popularity would be. So anyways, they underestimate Jocasta, and then they say not anymore. That's not going to happen now, and then they sort of welcome her into the team. So up to now, we've seen a lot of the line art of Silver Age and Bronze Age stuff in this comic. Now we're getting into the modern stuff, which is a little bit more murky. Some of this stuff takes from actual cell animation from cartoons, and that makes things murky. This is Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Avengers, issue 4. And it's more like Janet Van Dyne stuff and all that. This kind of looks like it's from cell animation. I could be mistaken. That probably doesn't, so... but it's a lot more... The line art aspect of comics was sort of gone at this point. It's more murky, there's a lot more shadowing, and doesn't really quite work on this sort of print, right? At least for me. Here's of course they plow it with ads for Archie. Archie's still going strong. You know, you see a lot of YouTube videos about the downfall of comics, the death of comics. They always talk about Marvel and DC. They never talk about Archie, because Archie makes money. So, Marvel Adventures Superheroes Ant-Man, featuring the Avengers, Captain America, Storm, Hulk, and Spider-Man, number 19, all ages. And more modern art. Looks great. Probably not so great on this sort of print, right? This issue, I think, was also reproduced in the Thor digest. So it's sort of weird. And I don't think this one has a lot of Ant-Man in it. Nope. It has Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk, and Falcon. I think this is the one that's coming from cartoon cell animation. You can really tell it's really murky and dark looking. Like, what the heck's going on here? What the heck's going on here? Yeah. But hey, I mean, most of this is pretty awesome. And here comes Ant-Man. Avengers Assemble Season 2, another comic taking the cell animation and making comics out of it. This is number 9. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Hulk, Falcon, Hawkeye, Ant-Man. Wow, you could really tell this is cell animation put on print here. They're playing Foom Fang Foom. Yeah. There's a Red Skull. And that's it. And the next issue, of course, is the final issue. They'll tell you that. But it's Amazing Spider-Man featuring Venom to promote the Venom movie. Here's Riverdale number 13, based on the show. And some Archie stuff. So all in all, it's a pretty good value. As I say, this stuff you can find online still. Hasn't been in print since 2018. And this whole series is gone now. But it was great while it lasted. And I hope you had fun looking through this with me. Take care.